megas, but identifying I need my Raichu. That was so good in game 1. I'll bring it back in game 2 here, and the Zapcans were just so strong.
I think as well, having got to know Aurel's backstory, turning up to a tournament for the first time and winning the World Championships for the perfect, authentic French bride, now coming into Pokemon Champion of Champions for the very first time, picking up a team and demonstrating what almost looks like experience coming through in a way. You're using that Raichu really well, calling your targets correctly, making the right adjustments, and it's great to be able to see that come through. Definitely a contender to watch for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, now one step closer to the title here in the Champions of Champions tournament. Well, that was the third quarterfinals. We're about to hear from the players actually how they felt going into this tournament, what their prep looked like, what maybe their favorite Pokemon is after this very first set they played on stage. So definitely stay tuned and make sure to be ready when we tune over. But what was your favorite moment from this third quarterfinals?
Honestly, I really, really liked seeing the way that Raichu was able to play around, but actually critically it was the adjustment for me in game 1. That Raichu went for the Focus Blast before Mega Evolving, so its accuracy was still a little bit questionable, and we saw that miss happen. But Aurel kind of, instead of then maybe thinking, oh, I'm nervous to click this attack again, remembered the training, really took a moment to think about it, click that Mega Evolution button, and then suddenly you don't have to worry about the accuracy and contention anymore. So watching a player learn and adapt and realize things in real time, I think was a really key moment of that match, and something that hopefully is going to inspire a lot of you at home. When you make mistakes in competitive play, that doesn't reflect on you as a trainer at all. It's how you learn from them, and a lot of the best will tell you they learn more from their losses and their mistakes than they do from their wins.
And especially the learning curve at the beginning as a new player is so awesome. There's so much to learn about Pokemon, but every single battle is teaching you maybe new mechanics that you didn't know. Even some of the veteran players still finding out very niche interactions as well. So there's so much to learn from Pokemon battles, and seeing how, yes, forgot to Mega Evolve in turn 1, missed the Focus Blast, remember, I actually need to Mega Evolve and then get the damage out. Great learning in the first set, took that straight into game 2 as well.
And Apollo was able to showcase some great defensive play, because competitive Pokemon isn't just about necessarily having the fastest Pokemon or having the Pokemon that can deal the most damage. If you're not having it in a position where it has the right support, or it's able to attack a Pokemon where it's going to deal super effective damage, for example, that can be really detrimental to your success. So I think being able to have great adaptations and not being afraid, being fearless to make switches is a really, really good skill for a trainer to have. And I look forward to seeing Apollo hopefully hone that over his next series of games.
I mean, I was talking to some of the players outside, and I said, I'm looking at my team and I identified a few weaknesses and I might have to switch. And switching Pokemon seems like daunting at the beginning. We're like, I would rather get an attack off, and I kind of waste my turn, right, if I switch out. But seeing that this is also part of the playstyle, identifying which Pokemon reposition maybe with some of the pivoting moves as well. We saw Nele go for the parting shot in game 1 as well. So all these tools, using those to reposition yourself, getting into better position to then take advantage of the field, is also very important in Pokemon VC.
I mean, Apollo and Aurel certainly gave us a match to behold. So I think it's time to go over to our lounge area and hear from both of them themselves on how they're feeling after their first competitive match. Let's go.
Give Raichu an inch and it'll take a mile, but it's Aurel who has the winning smile. Félicitations to Aurel, commiseration to Apollo. Aurel, coming to you first, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. That was a little bit stressful, but that was great.
Yeah, I mean, Raichu is getting off so many big zap cannons, just firing into your team. How did it feel for you, Apollo, being on the receiving end of that Raichu?
I feel like a student. Definitely, I needed to teach much, to practice more. Yeah, I learned. Now I loved this experience to fight in the Pokemon. Let's go. I think the next, if you have, I'm gonna do.
Absolutely, we will all improve. I want to ask you both, what's been the hardest part of learning competitive Pokemon? To you first, Apollo.
Sorry, say it again.
The hardest part for you of learning competitive Pokemon?
I think yesterday I needed to choose the better Pokemons. Today, man, maybe Metagross. I will choose another one. I make the 4 Pokemon today. He made a great balance, for his team. Then for this, I think not just the fight in the game, but strategy. He made a good strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Aurel played fantastically. Well, what about for you? What's been the hardest part of it?
So yesterday I tried to assemble 3 different teams, not using the most common Pokemon. And at the end, they were not good at all. So I had half an hour to make a new team, and I just won 3 battles before today with it. So I'm still recovering, but hopefully I will go to the end.
Yeah, victorious streak, absolutely. What's your favorite Pokemon on your team, Apollo?
Now Incineroar. Incineroar is very good. Garchomp, but Garchomp no appear for me.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I think the Whimsicott.
Whimsicott, yeah.
It's good.
Really good.
Balance the team, you know.
Nice.
Yes. Now, just can't to cry. I know now after this tournament has a pillow, right? Pillow competition.
Yes, true.
Semi opponent.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Just have a lie down. Very nice. How about you, Aurel? Your favorite Pokemon on your team?
So this time I think it has been a true because I used it a lot, but I think I will also have to learn how to use the others. So I'm sure will not use it every time because at the end your strategy is already learned. So you have to be consistent for your opponent.
Yeah, very nice. Well, it gave Raichu quite the showing. Yeah. We have one more quarterfinal match to bring you before we get into our semi-finals. So, félicitations again, commiserations again. And our pillow pugilist is overcome by our French fry wise guys. So, for Aurel, the chips were not down, but will it be him winning the champion crown?
One more quarterfinal ready and raring to go.
Yeah, and it's going to be between, again, 2 great champions. We've got Aina versus Mike. Of course, the stinging nettle eating champion. Like, a thing that I didn't think any of us thought would be a thing, but yeah, very, very impressive. And going against the whistling champion. 2 completely different competitions in their own right.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting that both of them who kind of have skills, you know, either eating or whistling, you know, all these kind of components are going to be showcased down in this final quarterfinal. And I think as well, you know, taking a look at kind of the things that they've done in the past, being able to have the endurance and I guess the composure, I want to say, to be able to either whistle at such beautiful notes or be able to indulge on so many feet of, I think, was it 74?
Yeah.
74. I mean, I think that was his personal best ever. It does mean they have to have a lot of dedication and a lot of skill to be able to maintain that consistently. I want to see what they're going to bring to the Pokemon stage.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think we would have liked to see Whimsicott with Aina because it used to be able to grass whistle. And that was the strategy back then. Of course, we don't have grass whistle at the moment, but that would have been quite fun. We've seen a lot of Whimsicott already today.
Whimsicott whistle, if you say it quick enough, maybe you could say it with a little whistle.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, they sound similar.
Yeah, a little bit. And I don't think there's any other whistling attacks, is there? I think it's just grass whistle, wasn't it? And we don't have that at the moment.
We did just see Raichu with a luring voice. A luring voice could be from a whistle, and if you've heard, you know, her perform, she has a very enchanting whistling voice.
Yeah, well, let's hear from her herself to explain a little bit more of what her talent is. And of course, Mike on top of that as well. So take a look at this.
Me llamo Aina y soy la campeona del mundo de silbido. Pues empecé a estudiar clarinete en el conservatorio con unos 7 años y empecé a estudiar silbido así como un poco a escondidas. Me daba mucho miedo, me daba muchísimo pudor, hasta que un día me presenté al concurso mundial de silbido en 2023 y gané el primer premio en Los Ángeles. Mi Pokémon preferido es Meloetta y es mi preferido. Ya sé que no es un Pokémon súper competitivo, pero como hace música y además cuando el Pokémon hace música, pues hace que todos los Pokémon estén felices. Entonces, eso es un mensaje que a mí me gusta mucho, es muy positivo. Y mi estrategia para ganar, pues, es haberme estudiado bien las debilidades que tiene cada Pokémon y las fortalezas y adelantarme al que tenga delante, al contrincante. Y pues puede ser que gane.
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm from Dorset. I'm a tree surgeon, and I am 3-time world champion stinging nettle eater. I got into stinging nettle eating 16 years ago. We went to a local pub to watch the Wurzels play, and they had a stinging nettle eating competition on, and miraculously, I won. My experience of Pokemon is my children are starting to collect the cards, and my godson, who's a little bit older, has taught me to play. only about 4 days ago, so I'm still a beginner. But my favourite Pokemon is Mega Venusaur. He's very big and cute and cuddly, and he has a layer of protective fat. It's like me. My strategy for the tournament is to play the long game, try and Mega Evolve, and use all the secrets I can find to boost my Pokemon to beat the other contenders. Watch out, I want to be champion of champions.
That's got to be one of the most wholesome reasons to get into Pokemon,
Yeah.
with your children starting to enjoy it, and now you getting into it as well. And now, with like the children are here watching their dad as well, so they'll be able to see him live on the stage. I'm sure they're really looking forward to it.
That's one of the beautiful things about Pokemon. It can bring people from all over the globe together, but also unite friends and family as well. There's this universal language of Pokemon that we all love and enjoy, and it's just incredible to see how it brings connections no matter who you are.
Yeah, of course. Aina as well, going to be a fantastic opponent for Mike, so I don't think we can really wait too much longer.
I don't wanna
We've
wait,
heard
Jamie.
from Ray already 6 times. Let's hear just a couple more to round off how he's feeling about both of these final 2 champions, so please take it away.
Thank you so much, Jamie and Lou. I'm now joined once again by Ray Rizzo. We're about to jump in our 4th and final quarterfinals here. How are you feeling about this particular matchup and the 2 players in this weekend?
Yeah, so this is a really exciting one, like they all are. So I'll start with Mike. It's crazy. This is the most 3-time world champions in one place, possibly. That might be the record. But it was really impressive talking to Mike yesterday. Of course, as you just heard, he only started with Pokemon 4 days ago. So being very new to the game, he luckily got some help from his 10-year-old godson. So he came in with a notebook, a textbook of, Pokemon type matchups and everything, every single 6 Pokemon he wanted to use, every item. So he came in with a plan, and I think he's executed on it. So I'm excited to see how that'll play out in this match. As for Ina, she's very competitive. I remember going around and helping her yesterday, and she was like, oh, be quiet here. I don't want everyone to hear what I'm using. So she's got a very strong team here with Dragonite, with Metagross, both capable of Mega Evolutions. They both deal a lot of damage. Dragonite on the special side, Metagross on the physical side. So those are some really powerful Megas that she's going to have options to. It'll be exciting to see which of those 2 trainers is able to pull it out here.
Yeah, I mean, specifically Mike's team looks like one of the most competitive teams we have seen in this tournament, rocking the Charizard Venusaur combination, but also tools like the Toxapex. Who do you think has the upper hand in this particular matchup?
Wow, it's tough to say because, of course, Dragonite himself has a really good matchup into that Charizard, and Venusaur resisting grass, resisting fire, so it's got a pretty good opportunity to shine here. So we'll have to see. I think Ina has the ability and the team to kind of counter what Mike's trying to do here. But Mike, as you said, he's got the really powerful duo in Charizard and Venusaur, and even Charizard and Garchomp makes a really good duo. Toxapex and Charizard we've seen to success with Wolfie before. The wide guard support, blocking rock slides. There's a lot of possibilities here, so I'm excited to see what'll happen.
I mean, we've seen all kinds of playstyles in this tournament so far. I'm really excited to see if maybe that Toxapex makes an appearance, something like the Toxic or Infestation, also more defensive playstyles. But I think our players are ready, our casters are ready, so let's send it back over to the desk to see how we jump into this next game.
I think the Toxapex is extra relevant here because it's been a brand new addition to this metagame. It's only been like months old, joining what we thought wasn't very strong, and now it's everywhere. And that's, I think, quite relevant to our 2 trainers here. Of course, brand new to the competition. And I think the godson of Mike really knows what he's doing, because that is a very, very much established team. So kudos to the godson for being able to find those team of 6.
Yeah, a lot of key components there. They're very competitively viable. Not always the easiest to utilize. You might kind of think, oh yeah, Charizard and Venusaur, they're a perfect combination. But if you don't get the alignment right, if you're not finding the targets correctly on the opposing side or utilizing the sun turns perfectly, then it can be a very difficult team to maneuver. As well as you mentioned that Toxapex, a fantastic Pokemon that can be so disruptive, but you've got to be able to stay calm and composed to endure everything that it can go through with that Toxic and Infestation.
Yeah, Toxapex is probably one of the most difficult Pokemon to be able to deal with, because it is just so incredibly bulky, and it does have one of the best answers to it in that Mega Metagross. Getting that Zen Headbutt with the Tough Claws boost, that might be one of the few things that could actually knock out a Toxapex in one hit.
I love this Mamoswine as well, more having those physical attacks, but then you've got the Blizzard just to be able to hit both the opposing Pokemon as well with that same type attack bonus. And who knows, maybe you could even get a cheeky freeze.
You're speaking it into existence. It's your fault if it happens now, but yeah, I think this is probably the more established team to here's my spin on being introduced. Like Mega Metagross and Dragonite have very, very nice synergy defensively and offensively, so it makes perfect sense why Ian has decided to pair them together. You've got something like the Mamoswine to be able to Earthquake next to the Dragonite that's off the ground as well. You've got Corviknight that can benefit from that as well. You've got a slightly more offensive Sinister as well. It's not going to be no support on this Sinister. It's just 3 attacks and can hopefully do some very, very significant damage.
It will be interesting to see Sinister utilize that way if it does indeed come to the match. And one of the key things it can still do with that Hospitality, even if it is going to be more offensive when it's on the field, just switching in can give the partner that little bit more recovery as well. And that can often be what signifies the difference between a KO or not after big damage comes through.
Yeah, we've got big damage on both sides of the field. So you've got the classic Charizard being able to do huge damage in the sun, boosting up the speed of the Venusaur. It's got the Life Orb to be able to do even more damage. You've got that Mega Metagross that can go for those massive Tough Claws boosted attacks. The Arcanine can still do some very nice damage if the sun set up from the opposing Charizard, being able to benefit from that, because that would probably be one of the better answers to that opposing Venusaur. Yes, the Venusaur would probably be able to move first and does threaten with an Earth Power, but then you'd be able to respond back with the Flare Blitz. But our Arcanine's a little bit of an awkward one in the face of something like the Annihilate. That's one of the reasons why it's on the field, to deter Pokemon that have Intimidate, because of course if you get intimidated, no, you're not -1, you're actually +1 attack thanks to that Defiant boost.
What I'm hearing here is we're going to see something that we often see in competitive VGC, is the turn 0 being incredibly crucial to determining how a match is going to go, just based on what these leads could be. Could already swing momentum into favor on one side of the field. But let's jump into quarter-final D between Mike and Aina. I'm looking forward to seeing who is going to come out on top and advance to the semi-final.
Yeah, we'll have to see. There is that Arcanine as a lead immediately paired up with the Dragonite, and that is the Charizard and the Garchomp. So no Annihilate on this field. That is an Intimidate on the Garchomp that is going to be incredibly useful. The Garchomp would have been able to threaten some massive damage into that Arcanine, but that of course has been a bit reduced now thanks to that Intimidate. And the resistances on both sides of the field are going to come into play here. The Arcanine and the Dragonite resist fire attacks, both of them, so the Charizard won't be as effective. But then that will swap the Garchomp is for. The Garchomp covers very nicely. Ground and Fire is a very nice offensive combination, because yes, the Arcanine and the Dragonite will resist the fire attacks, but you've got the Stomping Tantrum to be able to hit massive damage to the Arcanine. You've got the Dragon Claw to be able to do massive damage into that opposing Dragonite. Of course, you need to break the multi-scale to be able to do that massive damage, but then that might come down to the speed training on both of these Pokemon. Garchomp usually moves first, and that's the one you'd have wanted to move second into the Dragonite, because you want to break it with the weaker attack. So I think that Aina's in probably quite a nice position here, because the Intimidate should be able to make it through the turn with both Pokemon, and definitely will if that Charizard is not going on the offensive.
We're going to see an adaptation coming through straight away on Mike's side of the field. One fire type switches out for another. The inner focus on Dragonite, however, not going to be lowering its offensive stats, as the Arcanine will take that Intimidate. Dragonite, however, is going to become beautiful and majestic and mega evolved on Aina's side of the field.
Yeah, going to be able to have that multi-scale now, so any Dragon attacks from the Garchomp won't be doing as much. It's just an extreme speed to stop. That's really not the damage you want to see on that first turn.
Yeah, particularly not as it's debuffed by that Intimidate. As the Earthquake will come through, it is going to be hurting its partner Incineroar, however, but Incineroar is going to be able to hang on, and crucially, you get some good damage onto that Arcanine as well.
Yeah, but that's a lot of damage to take on your own Incineroar there. If that had been Charizard staying in, you wouldn't have taken any damage. But speaking of Dragon Claw, that's a huge amount of damage into that opposing Garchomp. And yeah, you didn't get intimidated thanks to that inner focus, so that's a reason why it's going to be doing a bit more damage. It could have been a lack of Mega Evolution on the Dragonite, because the base Dragonite is actually a tiny bit more physically offensive than the Mega Dragonite version is, but I think it makes a lot of sense to get that multi-scale in place, just in case that Garchomp did target down that Dragonite. So yeah, the Earthquake into the Arcanine is nice, and you will be able to KO it with another attack here. You've seen it very easily does over half, but you've also seen it does a lot of damage to your own Incineroar, so that could be a little bit awkward. But I think the nice thing with the Incineroar switching in here is, yes, it was in a focus on the Dragonite. You wouldn't have been able to fake it out in the base Dragonite form, but now it is Mega. You are guaranteed to be able to get that flinch, because it is now multi-scale if you want to go for the fake out. But no, still just Earthquaking your own Incineroar.
Yeah, and multi-scale's actually off the board as well, thanks to the recall it took previously. Incineroar switching in and boldly taking 2 Earthquakes from his partner Pokemon, but it has the endurance to remain. Arcanine, the same cannot be said for you, however. That's going to be a solid KO as Dragonite goes for that Dragon Claw and does manage to get the damage onto Garchomp to secure the knockout with a rough skin. Once again, chipping away. A quarter of damage gone already on that Dragonite.
Yeah, but Incineroar's going to be able to move here, and it's going to be Darkest Lariat. The multi-scale, of course, is broken on that Dragonite. That was some pretty effective damage, and Dragonite is now brought below half. Dragonite's an incredibly bulky Pokemon, so every bit of chip damage does add up. Especially if your main damage dealer into that Dragonite, the Garchomp, is now KO'd. You have to rely on on the Charizard to slowly chip away with Heat Waves. Maybe Weather Ball's going to be enough since I doubt it would be. Even as strong as Weather Ball is, Mega Dragonite is incredibly bulky, so you probably need 2 more attacks into this Dragonite to be able to do the damage that you want, because Mike is switching in the Charizard once again. And here comes the Mamoswine as a Pokemon can threaten down some really good damage here. You can easily KO the Incineroar with any attack that you want to go for here. Of course, the Mamoswine can't protect, and that's one of the downsides of going for those 4 offensive attacks. You can't protect, and therefore the Charizard, if it is able to outspeed and does naturally outspeed a Mamoswine, would be able to pick up the KO on it with either a Heat Wave or a Weather Ball, and then that would free up your Incineroar potentially to go for another Darkest Lariat. If this is a Heat Wave and a Darkest Lariat, and both of those attacks do land into that Dragonite, that could be the KOs that Mike is looking for.
The Mamoswine as well is not running that Rock Slide, so that's something that the Charizard is able to breathe a sigh of relief at. It does not have to contend with, some damage coming through from the Ice type attacks, but that Fire typing will reign supreme. And the Sun is going to come out as well to really celebrate Charizard going for its Mega Evolution here. This is going to be boosting up the Fire type attacks on both of Mike's Pokemon.
Yeah, and Charizard and Dragonite have exactly the same speed stat, and that's probably why the Dragonite's going for Extreme Spear here to definitely be moving first, taking care of that very low HP Incineroar. But it's going to be the Solar Beam here, not the Fire type attack, but that's still super effective into the Mamoswine. That should still pick up the KO.
Yeah, Charizard showing its versatility. When the sun is in the sky, you can turn this 2-turn charge attack into just a single target 1-turn attack here. Mamoswine will go down to the solid damage from that Solar Beam. Raw of success from that Charizard. It knows it needed to get that knockout.
Yeah, if that had been a Heat Wave, you could have gotten a little bit of chip damage onto the Dragonite, and as mentioned, Dragonite's incredibly bulky, and every little bit helps. Oh, that's a Corviknight switching in the face of a Charizard. That's not what you want to see. There's the Venusaur as well, and it's got the Life Orb, so that's going to be very close if a Sludge Bomb is going to be able to KO this Dragonite. Sludge Bomb and Heat Wave would just clear the board from here, so if that's the option that Mike does go for, that could be maybe just relying on the Heat Wave, and that's one of the things you want to try and avoid. So if Heat Wave isn't clicked here, it'll be because Mike doesn't want to risk that shaky accuracy. You can go for the Weather Ball for the guarantee KO into the opposing Corviknight, but then you aren't going to be strong enough, most likely, into the Dragonite without the double up. So do you take that slight risk with a Heat Wave, or do you just get that guaranteed hit with the Weather Ball, or potentially just going the offensive? Oh, they're just going to go for a Tech Tier, so could be actually a double target to the Dragonite to capitalize on that.
Yeah, Corviknight trying to scout out maybe the strategy that's coming through. Venusaur does want to get the KO, though. That Dragonite goes down. Venusaur having its speed double thanks to its chlorophyll ability in the sun, and the Life Orb giving it that extra bit of oomph behind that Sludge Bomb. Charizard was actually going for the Flamethrower here, so didn't want to risk going for the Heat Wave, and maybe also knowing that Venusaur was going to be able to get that KO, you can just lock in on that Corviknight.
Yeah, and the choice of Flamethrower here over something like the Weather Ball means that even if the sun runs out, you'll still be able to get that 100% guaranteed Flamethrower into that Corviknight. That was very impressive from Venusaur. I've mentioned already a couple of times that Mega Dragonite is incredibly bulky, but that Venusaur with the Life Orb was completely necessary to get that KO there, and even landing the Sleep Powder just for good measure.
I really like that, though. Sludge Bomb not going to be doing any damage into a Steel type, so you could just put this Corviknight to sleep, maybe to just alleviate some of the pain it's going to take from that powerful Sun boosted Flamethrower, and Mike Hobbs goes one game closer to advancing into the semi-finals.
Yeah, that was very, very nicely done there from Mike. After earthquaking his own Incineroar twice there, that's sacrificing most of the HP on such a bulky Pokemon, had the resources in the end game, so clearly had it all figured out, didn't need the Incineroar as much. It's going to be the Charizard and the Venusaur that's going to be able to claim the game for him. Very nicely done. The Dragonite was nice and bulky, but just wasn't quite bulky enough to be able to survive. And I was very dubious if that Sludge Bomb would have been able to KO, because Venusaur's not the strongest. It does need the help from the Life Orb to be able to do some actually very noticeable damage. But yeah, just about able to KO. That's very, very physically and especially bulky Dragonite. Very impressively done from Mike.
I think as well it shows a lot of great intuition on Mike's side of things. And this is a trainer who's only got introduced to competitive Pokemon 4 days ago. Being able to make sure that that end game of Venusaur and Charizard was set up so beautifully is a great skill for a competitive trainer to have. And he was already able to learn and execute that so perfectly in his very first competitive Pokemon match.
Yeah, Charizard and Venusaur, very classic combination. And saw exactly why there. It was able to claim that end game very, very comfortably. There didn't seem to be too much that Ina could do in that end game. So yeah, really, really nicely done. We'll have to see what she's going to be able to do to adjust to this. Whether it's still going to be the Dragonite or it's going to be the Dragonite and the Metagross here. So both Pokemon can Mega Evolve, but of course you can only Mega Evolve one in the game. And Mike's saying, hey, the Venusaur and the Charizard was able to clean up in that end game. Why don't you just start with it here?
Yeah, picking up where he left off and already being able to apply a lot of pressure onto that opposing Metagross. If you go for that Mega Evolution on the Charizard, the sun is going to come in the sky, and those flamethrowers are going to be devastating. At the same time, you're going to boost up that Venusaur's speed, and that's something that can put the Dragonite to sleep.
Yeah, that could be quite awkward for Aina there if the Sleep Powder does connect. You should be able to survive an Earth Power with a Mega Metagross. I don't think you'd survive with regular Metagross. So that's probably the preference of Mega Evolution, especially because Dragon Claw is on the Dragonite. And as mentioned, base Dragonite is slightly more physically offensive than but the Mega Dragonite would be. Of course, we're going to get the Mega Evolution from that Charizard Y to boost up those Fire-type attacks and also make sure that Venusaur is the fastest Pokemon on the field. Which Pokemon is going to Mega Evolve, if any? Yep, it is going to be that Metagross. And I think that is the preferable one facing down that Charizard and Venusaur.
It's nice to get a showcase of Mega Evolution in this match. We saw Mega Dragonite last game, and now it's going to be that Mega Metagross. It is wisely, I think, going for the Protect here in the face of something like a Flamethrower or even a Heat Wave that come through from this Charizard.
Oh.
And Venusaur expertly targeting that Dragonite, being able to put it to sleep, and you now do not have to contend with it going for a turn. Charizard was going for the Heat Wave. Of course, we know it cannot do damage into that Metagross thanks to the Protect, but it will be able to get that little bit of chip onto the Dragonite.
Yeah, and of course it was in a focus in the base form of Dragonite, so that was not halved from a potential multi-scale there, and Dragonite will be taking that guaranteed turn of sleep. Very, very nice start for Mike here. Potential play that Aina could have done is preserve the Mega Evolution. If the Metagross isn't going on the offensive, it didn't necessarily need to Mega Evolve this turn, and it could have left it as a guessing game. But now that we know that the Metagross has gone for that Mega Evolution, there's no opportunity for that Dragonite anymore, and that's something that Mike can calculate now going forward. Here comes the Earth Power. We'll have to see if the Mega Evolution isn't allowing it to survive, and yes, that Metagross does very comfortably survive that Life Orb Earth Power.
Does take 3/4 of damage and gets the special defense drop as well. Not that it matters, I think, if it's followed up by some of the flames that this Charizard can unleash in the form of that flamethrower, but just for extra measure, deals with that Metagross in a 2-hit knockout.
Yeah, very nicely done. And usually Mega Metagross is naturally faster than the Charizard. At least you do get the Wake Up, and there is a responding flamethrower. Sun boosted, still not enough to be able to KO that Venusaur there. So, yeah, if that would have potentially been the Mega Dragonite, that would have given the special attack boost enough to the Dragonite so that Flamethrower would have KO'd. So, yeah, a really, really nice start there for Mike. Losing the Mega Evolution for no benefit, unfortunately, for Aina here. Yes, the Arcanine is very nicely positioned now because that Venusaur, surviving is actually probably preferable because it should be in extreme speed range. And then you're going to be able to resist the attacks coming out from the Charizard. Heat Wave and Flamethrower won't be doing too much damage. That Dragonite would then be able to respond with a very powerful Dragon Claw, which is probably going to be able to knock out the Charizard in 2 hits. And even if it doesn't, then you'd be able to extreme speed it afterwards. So actually, even though the Mega Evolution has already been felled on Aina's side of the field, the Arcanine waiting in the back this time, I think is a very, very nice adjustment.
I think as well, I would love to see something like an Intimidate swap in from Incineroar just to be able to stop the Extreme Speed from getting the KO and also neutralizing a little bit what this Arcanine can do. But instead, it's going to be the Annihilate. I mean, that's one way to deal with a hit. Extreme Speed comes through. It will get the KO onto the opposing Venusaur here in play. So Venusaur does go down, but now Mike does have the free switch into another Pokemon in the back, and Annihilate is able to get in completely unscathed.
Yeah, but you usually want Annihilate to be scathed because then you activate that Rage Fist a little bit more. So
that's true.
A little bit of somewhat of a benefit for Aina there, not targeting the Annihilate. Of course, it's got the focus ash. You need to hit it twice at least to be able to fell it, but every single hit does activate that Rage Fist just a little bit more. So Rage Fist is not going to be able to do too much damage here at all. And the Annihilate can get some pretty big damage into the Arcanine with the close combat, but not too much damage into the Dragonite, unless it goes for the Rock Tomb, which it does have access to as well. Because the Dragonite is probably going to underspeed the opposing Annihilate. You've got the Intimidate activated on the Arcanine now because Incineroar did switch in, of course, not on the inner focus on the Dragonite. And you can't fake out the Dragonite either. So it would be fake out into the Arcanine if that is trying to put a stop to the attacks that Aina can go for on this turn. And then Annihilate, maybe a Rock Tomb into the Dragonite, but that's still probably not going to be enough to pick up the KO because it's not going to be the same type attack bonus on the Annihilate. And it won't be the strongest attacks. It's usually used more for a utility, but still would do some respectable damage.
And you've got to remember as well, Incineroar has given a taste of its own medicine to the Arcanine there, throwing down that Intimidate. So the damage capabilities are going to be a little bit more reduced. But the sun is also still in the sky. Even if the Charizard Charizard's not in play. Annihilate goes for the Rock Tomb, though. That does a significant amount to Dragonite, and of course is going to be critical in dropping that speed, just trying to give a little bit more momentum to Mike's side. Arcanine, however, can follow up with that close combat. Incineroar really paying off from the Intimidate that it gave it earlier. It's not even going to be taking it down into the orange zone, while Arcanine leaves itself a lot more vulnerable with its defenses being dropped, as the Incineroar can retaliate with that Darkest Lariat, doing about 40%.
Yeah, of course, the close combat drops were ignored by that Darkest Lariat because that is the benefit of it as well. But there's another self-earthquake coming out here, but this time it was on Ana's side of the field, and that earthquake is going to fell the Arcanine. Wow, what a turn of events here. We saw the self-earthquakes working out for Mike here. Is it going to be able to work out for Ana? Because that's going to give another switch into whatever is waiting in the back. Is it still going to be that Corviknight that was brought to the first game, or is it going to be the Mamoswine? Yeah, it is that Corviknight. So you do need to deal with the Fire-type Pokemon with the Dragonite here, but I don't think you're going to be able to, because the speed has been dropped on the Dragonite. It's going to be underspeeding this Annihilate for sure, and we've already seen the damage that Rock Tomb was able to do. That should be in range of another one, and then it would just be down to the Incineroar and the Charizard to be able to take care of this Corviknight. Yes, the Incineroar might underspeed and might be in range of Body Press at this point if that Corviknight has been trained completely in defense, but then that would just be the Charizard getting that paid switch straight back in, and we've already seen that Flamethrower is able to deal with this. I think if this is just a target into the Dragonite with a Rock Tomb, and that does connect, then that should be the game for Mike.
Yeah, Protect comes up on the Corviknight as the Annihilate actually goes on the side Rock Tomb here. Possibly Mike giving a little bit of a laugh there. Maybe wasn't exactly what was intended, but the Dragonite can now go for this Earthquake again. It doesn't have to worry about the Corviknight protecting up in the sky, but it will be able to get the knockout onto that Incineroar. And I have to say, I really like the way that Ana is playing this in the last turn, going for that Earthquake as a new player, identifying that, hey, this was something my opponent did that was really difficult for me to deal with in game one. Let me try it on my side. Even though it did take down your Arcanine, being bold enough to go for that opportunity and already start to get a feel for how the Pokemon are going to interact really is testament to her as a player in her first game here.
Yeah, but Mike recognizing that the sun was disappearing at the end of that turn and wanted the paid switch straight back into the Charizard. Charizard just one-shots the Corviknight, so that must have been what Mike was going for there with that self-target. It's usually the self-target into the Annihilate, so it's quite interesting to see the Annihilate respond back into the Incineroar with a self-target. But again, this still can just be a Rock Tomb into the Dragonite, a Flamethrower into the Corviknight, and so long as the Rock Tomb does connect it, so it's got 95% accuracy, it could potentially miss, but if it does connect, then it would just be Rock Tomb into the Dragonite, Flamethrower, KO into the Corviknight. And yeah, we're seeing that. It's start off with the Charizard just outspeeding, and there goes the Corviknight.
Charizard's not messing around, is able to get that solid one-hit KO on the opposing Corviknight, and now there's just the Dragonite on Ina's team to get through. Annihilate finds its mark with that Rock Tomb. That's a double knockout on Ina's side of the field, and Mike Hobbs will be advancing into the semi-finals.
Yeah, very, very nicely done there for Mike. A very strong strategy coming out. Since Godson clearly knew what he was talking about, because there's a reason that was actually already an established team, and it was piloted very, very nicely there from Mike. So yeah, the Venusaur and Charizard, it's been a classic combination for good reason, and even showing itself here why it is such a good combination to go for.
And also bringing in the Intimidate users on both sides of the field. You know, both of our trainers identifying that Intimidate is an incredible ability in competitive VGC, lowering those physical attacks of opposing Pokemon using either Incineroar or Arcanine respectively to be able to demonstrate that so beautifully. But also I want to talk a little bit about the Dragonite, because having that inner focus meant they didn't have to worry about the Intimidates.
Yeah, and then the Dragon Claws would have been doing a lot more damage. And like I mentioned, I think that even though the Mega Mesmeros didn't achieve anything in the game because it protected and then got KO'd, I think that was still the correct way round of Mega Evolution, because preserving the inner focus so that you didn't get intimidated, so that you couldn't be faked out, was quite useful. And the Dragon Claws would have been doing a lot more damage. The Earthquake does more damage as well, because Mega Dragonite does lose a tiny bit of physical attack, but of course, if it did Mega Evolve, the Flamethrower would have been able to pick up the knockout on the Venusaur. So there are trade-offs for going for that Mega Evolution or not going for that Mega Evolution. And something as well is that the Mesmeros undersped the Charizard. And Mega Mesmeros naturally outspeeds Charizard. So if it's trained as fast as possible, it would have been able to move first. And that could have been potential Zen Headbutt into the Venusaur for KO, or Zen Headbutt for quite a lot of damage but not KO to the Charizard, and could have had that clinch chance as well. But yeah, unfortunately the Mega Evolution just wasn't able to be utilized on Ana's side of the field as effectively as she'd have probably liked. But the Mega Evolution on Mike's side was expertly done.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, Charizard is one of the best competitive Pokemon in the game for a reason. And I think Mike was able to showcase it so beautifully. Getting that one-hit KO with the Solar Beam as well. You know, you could have easily gone for something like the Heat Wave, but why risk the potential miss? You can get that guaranteed damage down onto the opposing Mamoswine. But then, of course, Ina did make adaptations on that. And I don't believe brought the Mamoswine in game 2.
No, it was dropped in the second game. It was for the Mesmeros. Yeah, for the Mesmeros, because it was Dragonite and Mega Evolve before. And yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately the Metagross didn't achieve what Anil was looking for there. And like you mentioned, being able to recognize the path to victory that is the least volatile is a skill in Pokemon. Yes, Heat Wave and Slug would probably just win the game if Heat Wave connects. But recognizing that, yes, I have this 100% accurate move instead, and that will definitely win me the game. That is a skill that is able to be developed in Pokemon. Working out, do I need to take this risk of I must connect this Heat Wave, and therefore I will take the slight risk, or do I have a guaranteed path to victory? Oh, I've recognized it, I will therefore take it.
I think another path to victory for Mike was the utility of that Venusaur, a Pokemon that he said was actually one of his favorite Pokemon. Jamie, it hit all of its sleep powders. Now, I like to use Venusaur from time to time using sleep powder, but the accuracy is not always on my side. Maybe I need to make it my favorite Pokemon because clearly Mike had such a good bond with it that it was able to find that accuracy.
Well, you mentioned the Mega Venusaur was his favorite Pokemon just in general, right?
That's
so,
true.
So maybe it is that bond that he's already been able to form with a Venusaur that allowed him to connect those sleep powders. Because, as mentioned, just mentioning the volatility.
Yeah.
Sleep powder is one of the most volatile in the game, but was utilized very nicely. Getting that Dragonite to sleep immediately on that first turn gave a huge swing of momentum. So recognizing, yes, this is a slight risk, paid off, and it paid off big time.
I think it's beautiful as well to be able to see competitive trainers win with their favorites, and that's exactly what Mike was able to do in that last game. So I think it's time to hear from both of our competitors from that last match and hear their thoughts after the game.
Thank you so much, Jamie and Lou. I am now joined by Mike and Anya. How are we feeling after this match?
Feel a little bit sure, but really fun.
How about you, Mike?
I'm feeling quite out of breath. My heart is racing. That was really difficult.
I mean, you were given a little bit of help with, I think it was your godson who helped you with the team?
My godson Charlie, yes, he taught me for a couple of hours on how to play, basically. We've had help with selecting the team as well. I think I've got a really strong team, which allowed me to make a few mistakes then, and I got let off, luckily.
How did you feel going into this particular matchup here?
Quite nervous and underprepared. I mean, we've had one day to learn how to play this Pokemon.
Hours.
Just hours. So I think we've done very well considering.
I mean, it's quite brave coming from your own competitions here and then maybe try out our Pokemon Champions competition here on stage. About your teams, we talked a little bit about yours. What was your favorite Pokemon from your team in this particular competition?
Yes, my favorite Pokemon is Dragonite because it's so strong, always helps the team. Yeah. In this case, no, but yes.
Wasn't quite pulling through in this setup, but for you, like you had a team of like all-star Pokemon, Charizard, Venusaur, Garchomp. In this particular match, like who was your favorite after that first round?
I think Venusaur was my favorite. Charizard, Mega Evolving, that's always a bonus. But we'll see. I've got a couple more Pokemon to come out later.
Yeah, and like how? I mean, people at home might be wondering, Sting Nettle Eating Champion. Did you want to like transition over to maybe like gravy wrestling? Is that correct?
It's always on the list to do. Yes, if I'm in time to do it this year, I'd love to do that in August. We'll have to see.
Oh.
In August this year, yeah. We also have the Pokemon World Championships in August later this year. So a lot of titles to be reigned this summer. All right, thank you so much hearing from both of you. In this round, we're going to give you a little break before we jump into the next semifinals, but we're actually going to throw back straight to the casters to hear how our next semifinalists are doing.
Thank you.
Mike's godson is called Charlie. Congratulations, my friend. You picked the best name going. Welcome back, everybody. Charlie Merriman, married by name, married by nature on the desk here with Jamie Boyd. Boyd by name, Boyd by name. What is a Boyd? What is a Boyd?
I don't know. I've had Boyd used as a verb before.
To Boyd.
Yeah, to Boyd. And to be Boyded, I've heard very recently as well from some of my very close friends. And I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a compliment or an insult, but of course I'm going to take it one way.
Well, right now, you have just been Boyded, everybody. Fantastic. We've concluded our quarterfinals, and now we'll be getting into our semifinals. And the first one we'll be bringing you is from our Germany champion, Nila, our hobby horsing champion, going up against Ichabod Fame, our air guitar champion from Canada. Yes, that's right, our air guitar superstar going up against our High Chief of Hobby Horsing. And let's take a look at our top four bracket right now, because of course we know that our second semi-finals match will be between Aurel and Mike.
Yeah, I think something to point out is that there has been no third game so far. It was a clean 2-0 for all trainers that were able to advance into this top 4 bracket. So very, very nicely done from them. But now you're going up against someone who was able to be victorious, and therefore someone has to end up falling in this top 4 match. But are we going to be able to make it to that third game? Because that's what we always love to see, right?
Absolutely, we do. The nails are going to be bitten, everybody, as the tension rises. Jamie, I wonder if Ichabod Fame's favourite piece to play on the air guitar is We Air the Champions. That was dreadful. That was absolutely dreadful. And
can I give that a 3 out of 10?
Of course.
8 out of 10 previously?
It's absolutely up to you. 3 out of 10. You know what? I deserve that. I deserve that. You know, on the fly, we'll roll with it. We will roll with it. Of course, if you're just tuning in, everybody, first of all, what are you doing? You want to go back and check the stream because we have been seeing the competitive Pokemon action flying left, right, and centre. So exciting right here in London. And we're about to see Neela go up against Ichabod, our hobby horsing champion, go up against our air guitar champion. They have learned Pokemon champions for the first time in the past 24 hours or so. And now they'll be able to pit their skills up against each other. They made it through their quarterfinals. Let's see who will be our first grand finalist here in London.
It's semi-final time here at the Champion of Champions tournament. Ray, as the coach, you must be so proud of them right now.
Yeah, I was honestly really, really impressed with both of them in that first round. I mean, Ichabod, both of his core strategies, the Mouse Hold and Annihilate in game 1, was extremely strong. He piloted that amazingly. And then in game 2, he even adjusted, switched it up to Whimsicott and Staraptor, Mega Staraptor, and that got out of control as well. And that was really, really strong. He was able to just barely carve out that second victory. So really impressed by Ichabod. And then Neela, that was incredibly well played in her first round. It honestly looked like no different than if I would have watched, VGC Regional or International Championship. The way she piloted that Trick Room team, getting Torkoal in safely every time under Trick Room, ensuring that she gets Trick Room off with the Farigiraf and Incineroar lead. She just piloted the Trick Room team perfectly. So I think this is going to be a really good match. I honestly don't know who's going to win this match, but I know it's going to be a good one and maybe even take us to 3 games. We'll see.
Oh, yeah, the coveted 3 games give us a little bit of extra action to be able to behold. But I think you make a good point as well. Neela obviously being so good with that Trick Room team, but now you have to contend with the masterful play that Ichabod is bringing. Do you think she's ready for Population Bomb Mouse Hold?
Yeah, that just does so much damage. But another thing Ichabod has that he was telling me, the Roar on his Mega Aggron as a way to, get that Farigiraf off the field before it can actually use Trick Room. So we'll see if that comes up. But Neela does have those Fire-type Pokemon. So it's going to be tough if Aggron can actually pull that off, or if, like you said, the Population Bomb Mouse Hold just does so much damage that it just overwhelms the Farigiraf. We'll have to see.
We certainly will, and I know both of our trainers are ready and raring to go as well. So I wonder whether Trick Room will indeed be able to reign supreme once again, or if the Annihilate Mouse Hold is going to have something to say about it. Let's get ready and go to the action right away.
Well, in my very first tournament as well, I brought Roar as a counter to Trick Room. So, yeah, we're going to be seeing Ichabod doing exactly the same thing here. Of course, that was over a decade ago.
Oh my goodness,
but back in my day, as we like to say. But yeah, that is a very viable strategy of beating hard Trick Room, because Roar has -6 priority. Trick Room has -7 priority. And I am a maths teacher. -6 is slightly bigger than -7. So it's going to be able to stop that Trick Room, if that is an option that Ichabod wants to go for.
Thank goodness we have you on the desk, Jamie, because I wouldn't have been able to work out that -6 is more than -7. But if you're just tuning in, here's a reminder of Ichabod Fame's team. And we've got the VGC strategies aplenty going on. Mouse Hold and Annihilate synergize so well together, boosting up the power that Annihilate can deal. Aggron can just close out games by itself, essentially, with the filter ability after Mega Evolving, making it so difficult to remove. Then you've got Whimsicott and Staraptor. Whimsicott can boost up Staraptor's stats rather than lowering them, thanks to Mega Staraptor's contrary ability, and that perk can get out of hand very quickly. The Sinister, meanwhile, can switch in on any of those compositions in order to provide a little bit of all-important healing.
Yeah, you've got some very nice strategies going for Ichabod, and it's going to be quite tricky to work out which one he wants to go for. But looking at either side of the field, there is a very obvious strategy that we saw piloted to expertise in that very first quarter final. Going for that Fake Out and Trick Room strategy with the Incineroar, or maybe even just parting shotting and getting straight into your Trick Room Sweepers with the Torkoal and just spamming those massive eruptions, hopefully at full HP, to do some absolutely massive damage.
Yeah, I really love this. Reducing speed stat alignment on the Torkoal as well, the quiet nature. This means that in Trick Room, it should be the first thing to move, given that Trick Room reverses those speed environments, but you do have this backbone of Mega Metagross as well. Meteor Mash, Earthquake, Ice Punch, and Zen Headbutt. 4 different moves of 4 different types. That means that Neela can cover for all sorts of options that Ichabod can go for. You want all that type coverage. You want to be dealing as much damage as possible. After all, Pokemon is a game about claiming knockouts. Jamie, we've got Gardevoir and Lucario staring each other down in the ring there. Which is your choice out of those two?
I mean, as mentioned, Lucario was the raw Pokemon that I bought in the very first tournament because it had Inner Focus and was able to stop Trick Room without the Fake Out. But unfortunately, Mega Aggron does not have access to that. It's going to have to just go for that roll without the support of any Inner Focus. We'll have to see if that's going to be the strategy that Ichabod wants to go for as we get into this first semi-final here. There's that classic Incineroar and Ferrogaffley coming out from Neela, and there we go. There is that Aggron paired up with the Annihilate immediately, so this could be the raw angle that Ichabod is going for.
Make some noise in the venue and at home, everybody. We're getting into our first semi-final here at the Champion of Champions in London. It's so cool to see this Aggron on the field, a Pokemon that really can soak up so much damage, but Annihilate can very much run away with the game as well. But the big question here is, can Neela set up the Trick Room before Ichabod removes the Farigiraf?
The way to stop it would be faking out the Aggron, and with the Defiant boost, you should still be able to survive a close combat. Oh no, it's not even close combat, it's not the Sash one, it's the Bulk Up version. So Drain Punch definitely won't be able to KO the opposing Ferrogaff. It will still do some very, very good damage here. And of course, you do want to be getting that Mega Evolution going so that you can increase your defenses a huge amount, get that filter abilities going. So if a Flare Blitz immediately into the Aggron, you won't be doing as much here. And there is no Fake Out, so that's just a raw knockout with the Drain Punch into the Incineroar. So if this is a raw, as the Ferrogaff was going for Trick Room, that will activate first, and there will be no Trick Room, and there it is! It couldn't have been a better first turn for Ichabod Fabian. Look at that, he might be an air guitarist, but doing a drum solo, and he knows how to work the camera. There he goes, strumming all the way to the top. And now this Torkoal has come in a very sad position indeed. There's no Trick Room set up. That Torkoal is moving last of everything on the next turn. Yeah, very, very nicely done. And yeah, that's not even the Ferrogaff joining the field for Neela here, because then you'll just be rolled again, most likely. So that's very, very smart to go into that Sylveon to try and actually threaten down this Annihilate, because it is the bulk up variant, not the Focus Sash version. It's probably going to be dropped to the very type of attacks that's coming out from the Sylveon. Maybe not the Moonblast, because that's not Pixelate boosted, but we'll have to see if that's going to be the move of choice coming out from that Sylveon. Of course, the Torkoal wanted to be going for a full power eruption, but it won't be able to if it's attacked first, and the filter ability should be able to allow this Aggron to survive if the Torkoal has been damaged, or if it goes for the single target attack instead, because yeah, it can't go for eruption at full HP anymore, because it's taken over half damage.
Very nice, and this Annihilate now taking a big super effective Hyper Voice from the Sylveon. Of course, the Pixelate ability making normal type moves fairy type. The Aggron receives a critical hit there too. Normally, Steel resists those fairy type moves. So all of that damage can really add up. And now the Earthquake coming out as well. Good for a little bit of cheer, but Aggron is here to be a wall rather than a offensive piece. The eruption onto the Aggron is going to take it better thanks to the filter, but still it's brought down oh so low here. Just 7%.
Yeah, the filter there, very necessary to be able to survive, because that reduces the damage from super effective hits, and that was a super effective hit. Granted, it was not the strongest, because that Torkoal has taken so much damage here, but now you should just be able to go for Population Bomb that will KO a Sylveon, given that it's the Technician version of the Mousehold, and then just go for that follow-up Earthquake to be able to KO the Torkoal, and you wouldn't even care that you're Earthquaking your own Mousehold. I don't think the Body Press might be able to KO the Torkoal, because both Aggron and Torkoal are very physically defensive. Obviously, Aggron is one of the most physically defensive we have in the game, and could be able to pick up that knockout. But as the protection of Torkoal, this is just Populations into Bomb into Sylveon. It's going to be able to knock it out so long.
Here we go. It all connects. 2, 3, 4, maximum of 10 hits, 5, and it's enough. Everyone has a chance of missing, albeit a very slim one, thanks to that wide lens held item, and that Sylveon is gone. What's brilliant is to see Ichabod and Neela on the stage just having a great time, laughing along, and that's what it is all about. Pokemon Champions, you can just play on your mobile. Download it right now, as the Torkoal is able to ping off some attacks thanks to its Protect Shield, and now the Farigiraf comes in next to it, but these Pokemon are a fish out of water right now.
Yeah, but at least you can't be roared away now. This is one of the ways of being able to beat Raw as a anti-Trick Room strategy is lose 2 Pokemon. You can't Raw me anymore because I can't switch out. Therefore, I will just be able to get Trick Room. So I think the angle that Nina would have to go for is a double protect on the Torkoal and then be able to get that Trick Room set up. But no, go on the offensive with that Torkoal outside of the Trick Room.
But can the Torkoal withstand the attack coming its way as the population bomb this time goes for Farigiraf? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times 7, 8, 9, 10, it gets it! And that is how you secure a 1, or should it be 10, hit knockout in Pokemon Champions, everybody. Population bomb from Household. My favourite of the Generation 9 Pokemon. And then the follow-up attack from the Mega Aggron, and that is Torkoal down as well. Oh my goodness gracious me. Ichabod Fame has given us an absolute masterclass here in Pokemon Champions. We air the champions. Maybe that was exactly the song that you should be rocking out to, because it could be the one that secures their crown.
Okay, given that performance, I'm upgrading to a 5 out of 10 now with that one. So,
there we go.
Yeah, very nicely done. And we mentioned that Farigiraf is incredibly difficult to be able to knock out in one attack. I'm going to clarify one attack because one hit, not quite one hit. So it is a 1 move knockout that was able to take care of that Farigiraf because it went for the Mental Herb as an item choice over what is more classically used as the Citrus Berry. Citrus Berry would have allowed the Farigiraf to be able to survive that, but no, it's going to be able to knock out with just 1 population bomb. It's just showing how strong Mousehold can be. That's why you need the wide lens on the Mousehold to be able to try and get as much consistency as possible, but any move can miss. Yes, it's only a 1% chance for each move to miss, but that does add up to something like a 92% chance to be able to hit all 10, and that is necessary to be able to knock out. It needed all 10 into that Farigiraf. So that is something to keep in mind, that yes, you can one-shot this Farigiraf, so it could even be just like Aggron and Mousehole as well if you wanted to dress in both Raw and Population Bomb if Fake Out is clicked on the Incineroar, because I think that was probably necessary for Nina, because if that had been Fake Out into Aggron, yes, you lose your Incineroar, but that is exactly what you want on hard Trick Room strategies. Lose the Pokemon that's supporting the Trick Room setup, get the paid switch straight into that Trick Room sweeper, because losing Incineroar would have allowed the Torkoal to be able to start going for those eruptions.
Is it going to be a run back of the leads? Is Ichabod going to win this game and secure their spot as our first grand finalist here in the Champion of Champions? If Neela wins this, we go to a decisive third game. Going to be Sylveon and Metagross. Complete switch up from Neela here. And now it's Annihilate and Aggron going with the tried and tested what worked for Ichabod in the previous game.
Yeah, that's a really, really smart adaptation coming out from Neela here, because you can threaten that Annihilate with your Zen Headbutt. You can assume that Metagross should outspeed the Annihilate. It's definitely naturally faster by quite a bit. So long as it's trained fast enough, it would be able to outspeed and should one-shot the opposing Annihilate. You can't even switch in like a Frengard Mousehold because it's the Technician one. Frengard would have probably allowed it to survive, but now it's a great position, especially because the Aggron does not have Heavy Slam, one of its classic same type attack bonus moves that it has as coverage. It opted for the Earthquake instead. So you can very freely just launch that Zen Headbutt into the Annihilate, and yes, the Hyper Voice won't do too much to the Aggron, but it won't be able to do too much back.
But Mega Aggron has hit the field, everybody. That filter ability is active, and Sylveon is going to be keeping itself safe. Where did Ichabod target? Nodding as if they knew that was what was coming. And I like those, able to go for the bulk up here. But could it be a Zen Headbutt headed its way? At least we'll be able to take it better. No, just the Earthquake now. So the Mega Aggron is going to be able to take this so well, thanks to its filter ability, reducing the damage of super effective moves. And Metagross not being a native ground type Pokemon, that does mean that the power of Earthquakes are going to suffer. But now this Mega Aggron can get its Iron Defense going. It was defensive already, and now it's got a +2 boost to its physical. Ichabod is going to want to make this Aggron impossible to remove.
Yeah, the only way really now is going to be able to get those special attacks going. And yes, Sylveon won't be doing too much with a Hyper Voice, but it will start to add up. The Torkoal in the back, well, hopefully the Torkoal on the back, for Neela's sake, to be able to take care of this Aggron is going to be what's necessary. If you Mega Evolve, you should be able to outspeed the Annihilate, and even with the Bulk Up, you should be able to KO it through that defense boost because of the Tough Claws boosting up that Mega Metagross. And there we go. There is that Mega Evolution now. So potentially keeping its the Clear Body active in case there was a Staraptor switching in the back. But now being able to go on the offensive here, is the Bulk Up going to allow this Zen Headbutt to not
Here we go with the Tough Claws as well. The Annihilate is down, and Ichabod has lost one of their most crucial Pokemon here. Annihilate is going back to its Pokeball, and Neela has found a bit of an advantage advantage here in game 2. Again, Neela has to win this to take us to a game 3. If Ichabod wins, then they are our first grand finalist. Yes, the Mega Aggron resisting that Hyper Voice handily. The body press, even though it's resisted so much damage, because body press does damage based on your defense stat. And as we know, this Mega Aggron has a +2 to its physical defense here. So now Ichabod decides which Pokemon to switch in from the back, and it will be those fearsome yet cute Mousehold.
Yeah, it's not going to be able to do too much damage to the opposing Metagross, but of course Metagross does resist that Population Bomb and has fantastic physical defense. Maybe not as good as Mega Aggron has, but should be 3-shot by the Population Bomb from the Mousehold. So it probably does need to be Population Bomb into that Sylveon just to do it, because you saw how much damage the resisted Hyper Voice single target was able to do to that Mega Aggron. That's the one that's going to be addressing some really good damage to the Aggron. The Earthquake's going to do, like, what, 8% based on the previous damage? Oh, that's going to be a smart switch in there from that Sylveon. Incineroar going to intimidate the Mousehold. That means that either Pokemon should survive a Population Bomb here.
Really good. Neela's showing what 2 can play at this game of the Population Bomb into the Incineroar. With the Intimidate, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, that's 6. This means that the Incineroar is going to be taken out of healing. Seems like Ichabod maybe forgot that, given their reaction on the stage there. But it seems like, yeah, Mousehold connects all 10 of them, and Incineroar down to a quarter of its HP. The Earthquake, though, is this going to take out the Incineroar alongside? And the Aggron and Mousehold take it pretty handily here. Oh my goodness me, the action is intense. The Pokemon moves are flying left, right, and center, and so are those KOs. Now the Aggron can get another iron defense +4 to its physical defense here. And now, these trainers, everything on the line. Let's see what Neela will be switching in.
And if it's the Sylveon, it's got to be a Protect and target down the Mouseholds to take care of it, because of course Population Bomb will KO the Sylveon. If it's the Torkoal waiting in the back as your answer to Mega Aggron, then same thing. You need to be able to deal with this Mousehold before you can get that damage. Yes, the Earthquake did look kind of pitiful against that Mega Aggron, but I think that probably does now just about put it in range of a single target Hyper Voice. Mousehold has been taken down to basically half HP. It's going to be close if it's going to be in range of attack. But Nick does recognize, keep the Sylveon safe, because that's actually one of your better answers to Mega Aggron here. Yeah, that was the Population Bomb into that Sylveon.
Of course, this might mean the Mega Metagross has gone for an Earthquake. The Sylveon keeping itself safe here. It's going to be great damage. Is the filter going to be enough to save this Mega Aggron now? Yes, it certainly is, thanks to all of those defense boosts. The Mousehold is hanging on, and the Body Press now neutral damage into the Metagross, and it's down to 11%. It wasn't enough for the KO, even though it was at +4, and the neutral hit just goes to show the defensive capabilities of Mega Metagross.
Yeah, very, very impressive there. That Mega Aggron was very, like, it's hugely boosted here, and such a strong attack, but able to survive that attack. Very well, nicely done. But the Mousehold can still threaten down that Sylveon with the Population Bomb, and then you'll be able to respond back with the Body Press KO to the Metagross. As you saw, the Metagross just cannot deal with this Aggron here, and it is going to be a double Protect fail on that Sylveon.
Yes, Protect is a move that gets much more likely to fail with each time you click it, and now the Population Bomb just 3 hits, enough to send Sylveon scampering back to Neela, and this Mega Metagross going for yet another Earthquake here. The Aggron, look at that. You wouldn't think it was super effective thanks to the filter and the fact that it did just a few % of damage. But now Ichabod will have to reveal the 4th and final Pokemon in the back as the Body Press is able to KO this Metagross finally, and Neela will have to reveal their 4th and final Pokemon as well.
Yeah, and it kind of has to be the Torkoal to be able to do some damage to this opposing Mega Aggron. Whimsicott won't be able to do that. Oh, and it's even the Sinister waiting in the back for Ichabod. So yes, it was the Torkoal, but that Aggron is going to get some extra recovery thanks to that hospitality, and now it's going to be a lot more comfortable. You'd probably be able to KO it with an Eruption if you're at full HP, but yeah, you're going to have to take that +4 Body Press on the way, and I think that Torkoal will probably survive based on the fact that Metagross survived. Torkoal is basically as defensive, maybe slightly less defensive, so maybe it's going to be close, but then the Sinister should just be able to follow up with a tiny bit more damage as well, and that combination should be able to KO this Torkoal, because this Shadow Ball is going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, Shadow Ball Torkoal is not so known for its special defense. You've got physical and special defense in this game. This is a physical attack, the Body Press into the Torkoal. That's going to be enough for the KO. We have our first grand finalist here at the Champion of Champions. It's Ichabod Fame.
Very, very nicely done as well. Clearly had a very solid game plan going into that match. The roar on the Trick Room, that's exactly what it was for, and that paid off so well. The Annihilate got boosted by the Defiant, was able to one-shot the Incineroar. Trick Room's not up. That's an easy first game for Ichabod. It got a little bit more awkward in that second game, because Nina made a fantastic adjustment. Like, no Farograph, no Trick Room at all, just going on the offensive. And the Metagross was putting on a lot of offensive pressure. The Sylveon was the counter to Mega Aggron. That doesn't usually make sense, but because it was Earthquake instead on the Mega Aggron rather than Heavy Slam, it could have been. And it could have been maybe protecting the Sylveon and Iron Head into the Mouse Hole. Maybe Zen Headbutt as well would be able to KO. Earthquake just not quite two-shotting the Mouse Hole. And if that would have been a KO on the first turn that Sylveon protected, that could have been the follow-up single target Hyper Voice. And yes, the Earthquake looked pitiful from the Mega Metagross on that first hit into it and did like 8%. Probably put it in range of Hyper Voice, so that could have been the way back into that game for Nila.
Yeah, very interesting and fine margins indeed. So our air guitar superstar has bettered our High Chief of Hobby Horsing. My goodness me, Jamie. Ichabod fame is looking so strong. It's going to take a real champion to be able to try and overcome what Ichabod is bringing to the tournament today, just because there's so many modes that this team has access to. And Ichabod is the trainer who, for the past month, as soon as they knew they were doing this, have been practicing Pokemon Champions. And you can do it too. You can download it on your mobile for free right now. You don't even need a Nintendo Switch. So get involved in all of the competitive Pokemon action, and it could well be standing Ichabod in very good stead.
Yeah, it was very, very nicely done. You could see the thought process going into that game, and the strategy's paying off very, very nicely. We've said there's a few modes available on Ichabod's team. You've got the Mouse Hold and Annihilate. Well, it wasn't Mouse Hold and Annihilate, it was Annihilate with Mouse Hold in the back. That's perfectly fine as well, especially because of the offensive Mouse Holds. Very accurate so far with all the population bombs. Of course, there's that tiny chance that it can miss, and if that had happened, or maybe the Farograph with the 10 hits that was necessary, it could have got that Trick Room up in future turns. Mouse Hold, I've been very impressed with it so far.
Well, I think it's time that we heard from Lou and Ichabod and indeed Mila. We air the champions indeed, our air guitar superstar alongside our High Chief of Hobby Horsing. Let's go over there and pit their brains.
What another incredible match. What a way to kick things off for the semi-final. How are we both feeling after that epic showdown?
Yeah, I don't have words yet.
You'll find them, you'll find them.
Yeah, it was a crazy match, but it was very fun, so I'm fine.
Found any words?
Yes, Trick Room is terrifying at all times, and so I feel like, especially when you then changed into Game 2, I went, I don't know what to do off the top here. Uh-oh. So, yeah.
I think as well that was something that was quite credible to you. I mean, Game 1 didn't quite go your way. Mouse Hold kind of rained on your parade a little bit. But in Game 2, you made an incredible adjustment. Talk us through what you were thinking bringing those new Pokemon.
Yeah, I was thinking I can't go any further with my normal strategy, so I had to try and do something else. So I just chose other Pokemon that maybe could do more damage. It didn't work out, but it was worth a try.
Hey, it did some great stuff. You took down that Annihilate pretty easily.
Yeah.
That must have felt good, right?
Yeah, true.
It was a good moment for sure. But I have to say, turn 1, Game 1, it was like perfect plays, no notes.
Thank you.
Had you prepped like that coming into Trick Room? It was incredible.
All I knew really from what I had vaguely seen or knowing that Trick Room is that scary that I was like, if I have Roar, I can swap out for Farograph, who is going to be going, that's the only thing slower. So if I can do that, I can buy myself at least a turn to see if I get a bit of advantage.
And then certainly you were able to reap the rewards from that, right?
Yeah, got lucky there.
Well, it was great to see as well in Game 2, going through all these setup moves and Aggron being so strong. Has it been one of the Pokemon you were really looking forward to showcasing?
Very much so, yes. Yeah, just the big tanky boy.
You can see that for sure, and it still dealt out loads of damage.
Yes, the body press is awesome, but then I realized there was all of the special attack, which I have no defense against, and I went, just smile and pretend that it'll be okay.
Well, it feels like with every single game, as new, competitive Pokemon trainers, you're both learning every single game. I mean, what has today's experience been like for you?
It's been crazy. Like, I learned a lot about Pokemon these last 2 days. And I've learned that I hate the mice.
You love Farigiraf, so that's a new way. But it's
true.
A good learning experience.
Yeah, very, very good. And like, I think I will continue to play Pokemon sometimes because now I know a lot. So It's fun.
accomplished then. We've got another person into competitive
True,
Pokemon.
yeah.
What about yourself? What's the experience been like, working with Ray and then getting this team ready?
Oh, it feels just like a spring training at the fastest speed. Like you don't have a nice like, oh, I'm gonna figure out a thing one by one. No, it's all right, on today you're gonna learn everything. And it was amazing, but I spent the whole rest of last night just being zoned out, like just brain full.
I know that feeling quite well. Before a tournament, you got to lock in. There's so much to remember, but you get through it. One final question, though, for yourself here. You're now a grand finalist here at the Champion of Champions tournament. What are you thinking? How are you feeling ahead of that match?
There's a constant scream that's going on in the background, but outside of that, I'm just extremely thankful to Ray and for everybody to have this opportunity and to go this far and to just get a little lucky with a couple attacks from mice that are deservingly well disliked. I understand that. Yeah.
And if you do go all the way, have you choreographed some kind of air guitar celebration on the stage?
No, I will celebrate, but if there's not a guitar being played, what's the point of doing air guitar to nothing, right?
We'll see if we can make it happen. We'll see. Who knows? We'll get the crowd to sing at the very least. But congratulations to both of you. You've given us an excellent showcase of competitive Pokemon play, and best of luck in the grand final. We're going to go find out who your competitor is, though, because we've got one more semi-final coming up. So let's go straight to that action.
Yes, we certainly are. Charlie Merriman on the desk, Merry by name, Merry by nature, alongside Barish Akshos. We're going to be bringing you Mike versus Aurel. This is our stinging nettle eating champion going up against the master of cooking French fries. And Barish, what do you think Mike tells his godsons when they're misbehaving?
That's gonna sting.
Very nice, very nice. I was going with nettle down. It's pretty bad. What would you give it out of 10?
2 out of 10.
2, yeah, worthy of that. The king of the sting going up against our French fry wise guy, and I cannot wait to see how this match is going to unfold and who will be joining Ichabod in the grand finals of our Champion of Champions here in London.
I mean, out of all these categories, seeing 2 food categories making it all the way to semifinals here and facing off each other. We have seen they've already won one game, showed off what their team is capable of, what practice they brought into this tournament, and now seeing maybe after the initial warm-up round in quarterfinals, what they can actually bring to the table in semis.
Yeah, bringing to the table exactly that taste of victory. Tuck in your napkins, everybody, because we're about to chow down on some fantastic competitive Pokemon action. We saw Mike and, of course, Aurel earlier on, and their teams, they have so many techs up their sleeves, and I can't wait to remind us all of the teams that they will be bringing and seeing how they'll be matching up into each other. But everyone here is having such a good time. Everyone is just chilling out there. There's some pizza going on. I wonder if it's been tossed by Nicola, our pizza acrobatics champion, as well. Just enjoying the competitive Pokemon action on a sunny afternoon here in London.
Yeah, I mean, now they're here in semifinals, getting ready on stage, showing off. I mean, we talked about both these players and their teams. What I really like is that you have this kind of, either you go for a specific kind of strategy with your team, or what Mike has brought to the table was just an all-star team ensemble of Pokemon. And each of these Pokemon individually works really well and together as well, really well. It might be beginner friendly to be hey, if I just have 6 strong Pokemon, and they all individually do their tasks, so to say, I might have an easier way to victory. On the other side, we have seen some of the more setup strategies just in our first semifinals with the Aggron, both with the Raw and the Iron Defense. So interesting to see. When we looked through the teams this morning, it was Raw is quite interesting, right? Not very niche pick, but then seeing that Ichabod came prepared, said, Trick Room might not be my strongest matchup, so let me tack that Raw, and then it actually paying off. Granted, I mean, the first one was really interesting. So maybe seeing how setup versus maybe straightforward offensive teams can land their victory here on stage.
Yeah, really fascinating. And now let's go and hear from their coach, shall we? Ray Rizzo is on the stage ready to tell us more about these teams.
Thank you very much. Of course, yes, Ray, we've seen so many great plays so far. We've seen Aurel and Mike be able to advance into the semi-final. Let's start with Aurel with that Raichu Y that put on such a performance in that quarterfinal.
Yeah, in round 1 for both of these players, it was really well played on both ends. And I think overcoming the adversary, it wasn't always so pretty. There were some turns that looked like, oh, it's a little bit close, but then they were able to pull it through in the end. And I think that is a huge showcase to, just how good of trainers that these players have become in such a short period of time. But like you said, that Mega Raichu Y I think that could be key in this specific matchup because when looking at their teams, they both have Charizard. But Arel has the ability to, instead of bringing Charizard, he can Mega Evolve the Mega Raichu Y, and now suddenly that electric type damage, that Zap Cannon, Charizard doesn't want to take that. So that could be a very interesting adjustment because these players do have some very similar teams. The one thing that Mega Raichu Y is going to have to watch out for, though, the Garchomp on Mike's end, because of course, being a ground type, it's immune to that Zap Cannon. It can come in for free and just knock out that Raichu in one hit. So going to be very interesting to see how they can switch in and out to position those key Pokemon, that Mega Raichu Y and that Garchomp, and get them in safe positions to be able to capitalize on those advantageous matchups.
And of course, Mike said his favorite Pokemon Venusaur as well. That could be an option that they go for, but we'll have to find out what those options are going to be. What are they going to go for? Let's get straight into this semi-final here.
Kind of a shame that we don't have a singing nettle Pokemon, but Venusaur, I think, is going to be the next best thing for Mike here. But sure, he's a champion of French frying, but is he going to be flying all the way through to the champion position? Mike versus Aurel, the UK versus France here. And Barrett, looking at these teams, what's jumping out to you?
I mean, Raichu was just mentioned, it was just a superstar in that quarterfinals here. But on the other side, Mike has some speed control with the Sunny, or like with Charizard Y and the chlorophyll ability on Venusaur. Venusaur also has Earth Power and the Life Orb combination, so that might be enough to actually take out Raichu before it can deal any damage or can like paralyze any of these Pokemon. So this time Charizard paired with Venusaur might be the difference in this matchup here. And on top of that, Garchomp is also carrying the choice card.
Yeah, and the Venusaur has access to Sleep Powder as well, so could shut down any of Aurel's slots before they can move. Now, Aurel's team, with this Swampert here, not a Pokemon that you might be that familiar with, and when we have seen it, we often see it with a Mega Stone, but this one actually holding the Citrus Berry. Wide Guard means that Aurel's team is going to be protected from any spread moves, like Heat Waves coming out from Charizard, for example. But Raichu was the star of the show last time around, and I tell you what, if there's one thing a Charizard doesn't like to see coming, it is a Raichu that has 100% accurate moves.
And of course, the advantage going into the semis is each of these players has seen their opponent play on stage, show their strategy off, show their skill set off here. So maybe you can use that to your advantage, saying like, hey, I've seen like Charizard and Venusaur and the Garchomp there, and maybe I'll counter that specifically with something like speed control from that Whimsicott. Tailwind could be very crucial to make sure that your Raichu gets an attack off, or your Charizard is maybe faster in Tailwind than the opposing Venusaur and takes it out before it starts disrupting with Sleep Powder, or maybe gets like a knockout with the Earth Power to the Raichu.
Garchomp is going to be such a crucial Pokemon for Mike here. It's the only one that is totally immune to the big Zap Cannons that Aurel's Raichu can dish out. Here we go, everybody. It's time to determine who's going to be our second grand finalist here at the Champion of Champions in London. It's Swampert alongside Garchomp for Aurel and Charizard Incineroar for Mike.
Wow, what a great start here with the double fire lead in Charizard and Incineroar, ready to maybe go for a fake out and start with a Solar Beam straight into the Swampert to be one KO thanks to that quadruple weakness.
Absolutely, the king of the sting. Can they reign supreme against Aurel? Our French fry wise guy got double ground over on Aurel's side of the field as well. Now, both of them can take a heat wave pretty comfortably here, but of course the Swampert has access to Wide Guard as well, so it could be blocked. I love that you call out the Solar Beam here onto the Swampert, but is it a little bit too predictable? Is it a bit too expected over onto Aurel's side of the field? Let's see, it's kind of a turn that's difficult to call who will get the advantage, but one thing's for sure, we're getting a Mega Charizard Y over on Mike's end.
And we see why Incineroar is such a great Pokemon, getting the Intimidate off onto both these physical targets there, and also having the option to disrupt this very first turn with a Fake Out. We see the Mega Evolution, we see the Fake Out, and if this is a Solar Beam, might be the first knockout straight away for Mike.
Okay, so the Garchomp, of course, thanks to the Fake Out, not going to be moving. It's going to be the Solar Beam. Where has Mike target with this? The Swampert will be taking double super effective damage. The Garchomp neutral, and it's beaming down from the sky right into that water ground type Pokemon. Mike with the fist pump. This stinging nettle eating champion is going to be dining away on that victory. And now Aurel is down to 3 Pokemon already.
And I know this feeling, being in a match on stage here and taking the first knockout, being in the driver's seat, must feel great for Mike to take the first knockout onto the Swampert. We've seen Garchomp was actually faster than the opposing Charizard. So even though it's intimidated, something like a Rock Slide could deal a lot of damage here.
Yeah, the Garchomp is really threatening down big damage onto both of the fire types over on Mike's side of the field. Fire flying type means it will be taking double super effective damage from a Rock Slide to boot.
Yeah, and then boosted up with that life orb as well. Garchomp, I mean, we'll see on top of dealing a lot of damage to both these fire types, of course, you always have the chance to flinch as well. But when I was talking to Mike earlier, he said he doesn't like rock type moves going into Charizard, so he likes to protect or switch that out. We don't see any switch out here. Second Mega Evolution will Rock Slide maybe bring Aurel back into this game.
Okay, Aurel's Charizard is going to be keeping itself safe with Protect. The most important move in competitive Pokemon. Garchomp just going for the Earthquake here, and that means that the Incineroar is going to be taking super effective damage. Of course, my Charizard being a flying type, taking 0 damage there as well. Incineroar brought down to exactly a third of its HP now, and the Life Orb recall, all of it is going to add up over the course of this game. Incineroar, though, is just now going to be able to munch on its Citrus Berry. Far better for Aurel to get through that sooner rather than later. Yet another Solar Beam, though, coming out from Mike's Charizard. And once more, all of that solar power, this time into the Garchomp. A neutral hit, but look at that. It's brought down oh so low. And that's where the Life Orb and the Rough Skin is going to be chipping up. And the Darkest Lariat just to secure the KO.
I mean, really well identified from Mike, saying both my fire types are kind of safe against the opposing Charizard. Let's ignore that and go straight out on the offensive. Take out the Garchomp. Thanks to the Intimidate, you are likely surviving that Rock Slide if that comes out. Thanks to the Earthquake, now the combination of Solar Beam and Dark Slide was enough. Takes the second KO. Very commanding position for Mike.
Yeah, fantastic. And now that Swampert has been removed as well. You can freely spam these Heat Waves with no care for any White Guard, because that option is no longer here. This Whip Scott hates to be in the sun, and let's see just how long it's going to be sticking around.
Yeah, I mean, once again, that lead of double fire, Charizard and Incineroar, well positioned, taking out the big threats early on in Swampert and Garchomp. And now you're facing an opposing fire type that won't be able to deal too much damage. Moonblast, neutral, Incineroar is such a great Pokemon to have here, withstanding that.
The Flamethrower, super effective into the Whimsicott, bringing it right down to its focus sash. Mike has yet to lose a single Pokemon over on their side of the field. So let's see if Aurel is able just to get one KO for glory here. Now a Solar Beam here, rather than a Fire-type move. Where is this one going to be targeted? Perhaps predicting a switch in from Mike's side of the field. Going to be resisted doubly by the Charizard over on Mike's side of the field here. Mostly ineffective indeed. But now the follow-up Flare Blitz, the most excessive Flare Blitz you've ever seen in the sun. It's going to be carrying that Whimsicott all day, every day.
And Mike is not stopping at all. He's taking just another, 3 turns back to that KOs here. And now it's down to their final Pokemon. Charizard Y facing 2 fire types. We've seen the Solar Beam maybe predicting a swap into something like the Toxapex in the back, or maybe the Garchomp would have been a great targeting there. But now, once again, Mike, all 4 Pokemon left in a grand position here with 2 fire types facing the Charizard. There's 2 more turns of Sun, so both of them can start trading maybe some fire moves, even though they're resisted. Actually, the Sun boost that might deal extra damage here. But it seems like Aurel's back against the wall, and this might only be a matter of time.
Look at that. Ineffective, and yet the Sun beaming down, and it's brought down to 60% of its HP. Another Solar Beam here from the Charizard. Aurel really leaning in on these Grass-type moves, but of course, back against the wall. The Incineroar is still able to hang on with the 1% HP here. Yet another 5th bump from Mike. The parting shot now, really stylish play, reducing the offensive prowess of Aurel's Mega Charizard Y, meaning that something can switch in from the back. It's a really interesting play from Mike here, because you could definitely have just stayed out with the Incineroar and not revealed what was up your sleeve, giving you useful things to play with heading into our second game, because of course best of 3 is how it works around here.
Yeah, maybe giving out some information here. Now that the Teeny coming out, actually looking quite small compared to all the other Pokemon on the field here. And yes, taking out the knockout, or maybe at least dealing extra damage onto the Charizard here. Instead, we see now that hit the field, might just take what is 1 more turn to double up into that Charizard and take it down. The big question here is, Aurel, in quarterfinals, it was all about Raichu. Game 1 and semis, didn't even bring the Raichu.
Yeah.
So the big question is going to be, is Aurel going back to his trusted Raichu in Game 2 to maybe come back into this game?
Yeah, I mean, there's a Pokemon that is unrevealed for Mike as well, and of the ones that we saw draw, the Raichu would deal a huge amount of damage. The Rock Tomb, double super effective against Aurel's Charizard here, and that's going to be Mike going up 1 game here in the semifinals. Both of them just having the time of their lives up there. Really well played to both of our trainers. But I agree with you, Barrett. I'd love to see this Raichu coming in Game 2.
Yeah, the Raichu Game 2, I mean, there might be the Choice Scarf Garchomp in the back, which was preserved here, didn't come in, didn't show off how it could have maybe dealt with the Raichu. But based on what we saw, Focus Blast is great into Incineroar, Zap Cannon great, of course, into that Charizard. likely a one-hit KO. The focus session Annihilate might be with something like a Rock Tomb can actually sway and make the righteous slower, which then maybe with a well-timed protect on your Charizard allows you to outspeed in the next turn. So there's a few key mechanics there that we have to look out for the second game. I like the little wave that Mike gave out to his family. I talked to them earlier. They're in the crowd watching live actually here and supporting Mike on his way to maybe the grand finals.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Competitive Pokemon, you've got to have people around you in order to help with the team building. That's how you improve so much faster at this game. So, if Mike wins this next game, they are our second grand finalist here at Champion of Champions. If Borrell wins, then we go to a game 3. And that's something we haven't seen yet, Barish, at the Champion of Champions. All of our matches have been 2 and 0s.
Let's see. Citrus activates back to almost 70% here. But yeah, that guard jump, well positioned. Rock slide, well, that might be what you need to deal with 2 fire types.
Yeah, and once again, we see 3 Pokemon revealed for Aurel. Is the 4th one going to be that Raichu that we've been talking about so much? As Mike decides which Pokemon to send in from the back here. Toxapex is here, everybody. This is a totally different playstyle to anything we've seen so far today. Toxapex is a Pokemon that likes to be bulky, stick around for a long time, not a good time necessarily. So let's see if Aurel has what they need in order to deal with it. And the Raichu would be a great way.
Yeah, we have so much like White Guard potential in this setup here, right? Swampert could White Guard to overstand the old Earthquake. Guard Chip, however, carries the item Life
Oh, a huge miss there, because that would probably have been enough to secure the KO here. The like now brought down to 15%, and that could be the window that Orel needs to get back into this game. The